We got like a trainer and all of that. He finally just said, listen, man, this is one of these dogs nature said no to, but people said yes to.
Hi everyone, it's Blue. Make sure you like and subscribe and go follow me on Patreon. It's only $5 a month and you get an extra video every week.
We need a poster child to show the world that it is a beautiful and wonderful thing. Can we help you?
Today I'm going to be reacting to Bill Burr. Apparently the video is called When He Gives His Dog Away.
Tell you though, becoming a dad though is the greatest thing that ever happened to me, man. It really is. I don't have any jokes about my kid. No, it is. And you're applauding my wife. She did all the work. Yeah, knocking a woman up, that's easy. You just have fun. You unprotected sex, bam, you knock them up, and then they have to deal with it, you know? No matter how much they try to drag you into it, it really is, it's their show. You know? I always say my wife, when my wife was pregnant, I would say my wife, you know, she's pregnant. Yes. And then I always have these people like, excuse me, you're supposed to say we're pregnant? You're supposed to say we're pregnant? It's like, well, I'm not a seahorse, so I'm not pregnant. My wife is pregnant. Look at her, she's putting on weight, her feet are swelling up. You know, she's miserable. Miserable. I'm still doing pull-ups. I'm crushing it. While being pregnant, I'm still drinking, smoking, yeah. The only thing that sucked was I had to get rid of my dog. Yeah, had to find her a new home. Well, I finally had to admit that she was crazy. I got a crazy rescue dog, and yeah, it was one of these dogs, man. It tried to kill both my parents. It tried to kill my father-in-law. It bit one of my friends. I'd have family come over, friends or whatever. We have to stick it in the back room, like lock the door. And the first hour, it'd just be throwing itself up against the door. Ah! Kill all you mother! I'll kill all you motherfuckers! Looking under the door, I can see your feet! I know what you smell like! I'll follow you home, I'll find you, I'll kill all of you! And we were just in like total denial, like, no, she's just a little, you know, a little scared, because she was abused. And we got like a trainer and all of that. He finally just said, listen, man, this is one of these dogs nature said no to, but people said yes to. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, you could have told me that $10,000 ago, you know? So now my wife, she's 5 months pregnant. She's 6 months, 7, 8 months pregnant. It's just this thing just hanging over my head. And finally I just said to my wife, I'm like, we got to do something about this, man. I'm not going to be this guy in the news being like, well, you know, the dog loved me and my wife, so I figured it'd be all right to let it sleep near the bassinet. And, well, you can imagine my surprise the next morning. Yeah, I wasn't going to be that guy in the news whose dog ate his baby, right? I got to get rid of this thing. So we call my trainer, and he goes, all right, I'll take it, okay? So thank God they're not going to put the dog down or anything like that. So I'm like, thank God. So he goes, I'll come back in a week. And it was very sad because we both love this dog, like with all our hearts, right? And what amazed me, though, was over that week, the way my wife handled grief versus me. It was so mature. She just, like, took it on. I just went into denial. I was just like, well, I'm not giving it away tomorrow, so I'm not going to think about it. I just called the dog up in the bed, started petting her and lashing out at people for no reason, right? My wife, on the other hand, she just went right into the bathroom that night. She was brushing her teeth. I could just hear her quietly crying, like, hoo, 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 hoo. I swear to God, I was on the bed, and I got mad at her. I didn't yell at her, I had it just internal, you know? And I was just thinking, like, why is she having the proper emotion in this moment?
Oh, he's so toxic. I love him so much. Oh, so toxic. Okay, yeah, I love that. Only he can make that story really funny and really enjoyable. Plus, the dog really wasn't just given back to a pound or anything or given to a stranger. It was given to a dog trainer. So it is actually probably good and really not that bad. But again, it's still amazing that only Bill Burr can make a story like this really funny. Especially since he had mentioned that, oh, thank you for telling me $10,000 later. I'm assuming it's that one dog trainer when Bill had hair. And it kind of now feels like you're growing up with him, like you're going through his life. Maybe I just feel that way because I'm like stuffing in all of these clips from a range of 10 years in one moment, but it does feel that way, and it's really nice to see like Bill talking about, oh, I could never date or marry, and then you see he's with somebody and it's like, I could never have kids, and like his wife's pregnant, and this dog's crazy, and now the dog's gone. So it's just funny because you're like following him through his life and as it progresses, and he makes points and references to things that have actually happened, because unlike a show or some other type of art or content, It's usually these jokes are about the actual person.
Why isn't she just blocking it out the way I am, right? Just don't deal with it until you give it away, and then just start yelling at people the way I do. Right, and that's what we did. I just blocked it out, and every night she would cry a little bit more the whole week. Till the night before, she's like, right? And what I didn't realize was she had cried herself into acceptance. And meanwhile, my emotions were still at the starting line. And then there's a knock at the door, and she goes, okay, he's here. Go get the dog. And I'm like, hey, Cleo. And she popped her head up, and I saw her wagging her tail. And all of a sudden, 8 years of conditional love all started bubbling up. And I was like, oh, fuck, not now. Not now. So I just pushed it down. I just walked at her like some weird game show host. Hey, how are you? I'm smiling for no reason, all right? Now we're going for a walk. I'm just going to say what we're doing so I don't think about what I'm feeling. And I just walked out, handed the leash to the new owner, pet her on the head, didn't even look her in the eye because I knew I couldn't, and just turned around and walked away from something that I loved more than I had loved anything in my life up to that point. Don't tell my wife, right? So then I come back into the house, all right, and she said,
ugh, I am so, like, it's dangerous how much I'm relating to him. No, it's really funny. And I also like that there's finally, like, this character. I mean, she's not a character, it's his wife, but there's this other very relevant person that always pops up in his stories now as somebody who's, you know, very smart, thinks things through, clearly handles her emotions, healthy, doesn't sound like she has anger management issues. So it's very funny also now that Bill Burr has like this content just rapidly of this person who's like normal and healthy and good and manages her feelings, and then there's him. So it really shines even more light and more funny stories of how he puts them parallel to each other in comparison because they're very different people. What I really do like about this joke is it's not really, you know, like about me. There's so many people who could look at this and find it very funny because they relate to that pushing down of feelings, which in a normal everyday to-day life, that's like a serious conversation. Maybe something that you go to your therapist for, or something that you realize when you were an adult, like, oh my gosh, that happened to me when I was 6 and I repressed it, and oh my god, now what do? I have to deal with that. And it's always like a really traumatic or bad conversation or realization that you realize that it's happening to you. And he's making it very funny. So even though it's relatable, you don't feel bad about it because he's making light of it in a very optimistic way. I mean, he's talking about something that was very hard for him to deal with, clearly. I mean, he might make jokes about how this dog was crazy and he has to give it away, but he just admitted that this was one of the most, I'll at least say that, things that he's loved in his life ever. And he just didn't look her in the eyes, handed the leash over, and walked away. And I think that in some way, a lot of people have been through something like that before.
life up to that point, don't tell my wife, right? So then I come back into the house, all right, and she's just looking at me. She knows I'm out of my mind. She's like, are you okay? Is everything all right? Do you want to talk about it? We can go out, get something to eat or something. I'm like, no, I'm fine. Sometimes you have to be up here and think logical and not be in your heart. I'm just going to go into the bathroom for a second. And I went in and I closed the door and for 0.8 seconds cried like a little boy before I put the lid back on the jar, fastened it back, and just added it to the shelf of anger that sits in every man's chest. Yeah. I couldn't help but wonder in that moment, who that I love in my life is going to pay for that in the future? Like, where am I going to be? Family reunion, Bed Bath & Beyond. How many towels do we need?
Okay, called out. I love this joke so much. Again, I feel like it's very relatable for people who push down their feelings, which I would want to say is nearly everybody, at least at some point in their life, or at some point in the day, or that one topic you just don't want to deal with. And it's amazing and really actually comforting that he can make light of a situation like that. That's why I think, you know, comedy is very important. Aside from being a comedian and you watching him on stage, I do feel like he gives off this vibe that makes you feel some type of closeness to him, even though he's just performing and not talking to you directly. There's like this comfort or closeness that you have to Bill Burr, especially with some of the jokes he makes and his points of views. Okay, but that's going to be it for today. I hope you liked this video, and make sure you like and subscribe and go follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and check out my Patreon. I'll see you next time.